Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. To start the new year, we're going to be taking a look at the sculpture I made of the 1954 Godzilla, which for those who don't know is the original Godzilla. It's made out of, or it's casted out of polyurethane rubber using epoxy for the nails, the claws, and the dorsal plates as well as the teeth. And it has foam padding underneath to kind of simulate how the suits were designed from the original movies. Now, this is the second version I made. There was an original version, and this one, while not being perfect, I'm definitely very proud of. But the first version went through a lot of trial and error, especially with the mold making. The mold making is what messed me up a lot. And eventually, it took me half a year to like get to the point where it just wasn't coming out the way I was wanting it to, and I decided to just restart from scratch. And as you'll be seeing a little bit, I tried making the original Godzilla 2000, and I wanted to do it for a convention that was coming up nearby, but it just wouldn't come out. But anyways, to start it off, the first thing I started off was a sketch just to get the general proportions as well as size. I wanted this to be small so that I didn't have to worry about too much detail and texture, but I still wanted to, but still enough to where I can get wire armature underneath. So starting off with the wire armature, I put on a bunch of wax clay. It's monster clay, so that I could kind of, so it's clay basically that doesn't cure over time. It always stays not wet, but it always stays soft, so that when you can make molds of it and you don't have to worry about the clay messing up whatever you're making mold of. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm just kind of blocking out the proportions and seeing how big it is. And you'll see some point that like at one point the legs were too long, and I had to like kind of redo the legs so that they could come out a little shorter, more proportional. But again, here I'm just kind of blocking shapes out. I'm not really getting to the texture yet. I'm just like doing things like trying to see how big the chest should be, how big the waist should be. And right here, like again, you see I'm like starting out the legs and just really trying to get in a lot of those details that you see on the Godzilla suits. They're very baggy, very bulky, especially this one. I really wanted it to kind of have a baggy look to it. Since this was the first Godzilla ever made, they didn't quite have the technique, refined. So there was a lot of trial and error, even with the original suit, which in a way kind of parallels what I was going through. But regardless, it's just the suit has a very distinct look. And here I'm blocking out the head. Now I put what do you call it? I put like a clay mouth in there that has like wire armature so that can be bendable. However, that was afterwards, because with the original version, the 2000 Godzilla, I just found that when I tried doing it before, the head would be so much like double the size, and so I decided just opt to making the head sculpting the head before, so that I don't have to worry about the proportions looking off for the face and everything. And here you can see I'm finally starting to kind of refine certain details, not quite getting to the individual scales, but at least getting like the musculature and the body shapes that you see in the suit, such as like you saw that kind of collar, chest collar thing, that little rib cage thing that he has on his chest. And here you can see I'm like just putting a little more details on the suit. Again, I'm trying to get in those wrinkles and folds, because not only does it represent both the musculature, it also represents how the suit is just very, just very wrinkly. It was made from a latex rubber, using a lot of foam and padding to help fill it out. And here you can see I'm making the tail. The tail's a lot more simplistic with the original. It's just kind of rings, where as opposed to later versions, it would be a little more detailed. But as you see, I'm just getting in those small details right there. And then here's where I start to get kind of the tree bark texture. And because it's small, some of it kind of gets faded away. But, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I think, it still comes out really good. And also, I didn't want to just do complete tree bark texture all around from what it looked like on the suits, both from the film and from like recreated suits, because I don't think obviously with it being latex, it degraded, so it didn't survive. Obviously, So they recreated it, and from looking at the recreations and the original film, it looked like there was different textures throughout the suit. But here I'm, starting off making the molds, and I have like the clay to kind of have, so I could do a 2-part mold, so I could like separate them. And my original problem was the plaster. I'm just not very good at plaster. So instead, I substituted with silicone. I was gonna do something a little cheaper and easier to work with, at least for me. And so I used silicone from like Lowe's or Home Depot. And then so that it could be sturdy, I just brushed on plaster on top so that it could give it a little more of a sturdiness and so it could be a little stronger. And then I'm also putting some burlap surrounded by plaster so that it could, again, just be strong, just hold the strength and just be a lot stronger. And then after that, after that, I did the 2 parts, and what I'm doing right here, I just kind of skipped. So after I got my molds, I started using the polyurethane rubber. I forgot what it is. I'm using a different type, but it's a lot thinner. It's a lot more flexible, so it allows for the sculptures to move a lot better. But in between, like I said, I got foam. I got foam padding. I just got it from like a Joann's, and I kind of cut into shape, and I use that to like kind of hold the structure for the suit, like, or for the toy, so that it could like keep its shape for certain parts. And so what I do is I brush on a single layer of rubber so that we don't have any issues with bubbles covering the, messing up the details. And after that, I didn't get a very good shot of it here. I'm sorry about that. But after it's barely cured, like it's still tacky, I get another batch of rubber. I pour it, and essentially I just kind of rotocast it. And here you see the result. It's a really solid technique, although it's very time consuming, so it's just something to keep in mind. But here you can see me, I'm using the epoxy clay, and I'm trying to sculpt the dorsal plates and all the other parts that are like the claws and everything. And it's very time consuming. It's very hard because it's a small sculpture. But once I get all those epoxy clay pieces done, I just glue them on so that they can stay on the sculpture better. And again, just when it started to come together, I mean, I was just looking. I was like, man, it's starting to look really good. I was very happy with it. And as you can see, here's kind of like the dorsal plates just kind of coming together. And then what I did is I coated them in UV resin. Now I got this UV resin from like a craft store. It's not very good. And then this UV light that I had, they weren't very good. In my opinion, just pay the extra money and just get good UV resin and UV torch light. And here I used foam clay to kind of fill out some of the gaps, although eventually it didn't really work like I was hoping it would. But, I tried my best, and you can see kind of here's what it looks like before I start to paint it. And to prime it, I used Flex Seal, and I just kind of sprayed like 3 coats. And then I painted one more coat of apple barrel paint, black. And then after that, it was very simple. What I did from here on out, I just started dry brushing the figure. I started off with some whites to really bring out the gray in it. But then after that, I started dry brushing some grays just to kind of add variation. I wanted to go for more black and white aesthetic because the thing is that, as far as I know, no one knows what the suit looks like. Some has theorized it to look brown. Some have said it's black because that's how all the other suits have looked. No one truly, as far as I know, from what I've researched, I could be wrong, but there's no concrete evidence of what the original suit looked like. So I just went with a black and white aesthetic, especially using the NECA as like kind of, a base. And then after that, once I got all the paints, it was like, again, blacks, grays, whites. I coated it with varnish, and then I used UV resin for the eyes to kind of give it like a shiny effect. And that's about it. Now our video comes to an end. Overall, like I said, it obviously has some issues, but I'm very much happy and proud with how this sculpture came out. It just really fulfilled what I was trying to do, just making a rubber figure and trying to implement the tactics and techniques they used to make those original Godzilla suits. So like I said, I'm just very happy with how this came out, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I'm very sorry for just not posting for a few months. The holidays have been busy. I actually worked on a commission, and then also work's been pretty hectic. So it's just been hectic all around, but I appreciate y'all for waiting, and I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. And if y'all want to see more of my stuff, definitely check out my other social media, my Instagram page, Giovanni Arts and Collectibles. I'll try and post this there so you can check, so you can get some better photos of it. And again, just thank y'all for watching and have a great day. Bye.